Yo, what's good, everybody? We back up in this thing, and we about to take this listen to what POTUS has to say after Biden has now stepped down. And in case you didn't know, Biden gave a bunch of people pardons right before his last day in office, and some of these people included his own family members. But let's just hear what man's got to say here.
And I was going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the unselect committee of political thugs, where they literally, what they did is they destroyed and deleted all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all.
I'm going to speed this up. But essentially, he's saying that there were court proceedings that were on laptops and documents and files that were on computers, and they deleted all of the stuff so no one could follow up with it. And then he pardoned the people involved in the cases.
All the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500, and it would have stopped. Because we may have 1 million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. You don't see those photographs. They don't put them in to show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, but now in front of I'll bring it up right now. And this little time delay is good because we're getting great reviews on the speech. Now watch. They'll take the speech and say, I didn't like it because he left there and he talked to people. But we're giving you a little more information than we gave upstairs. But no. They pardoned a lot of people. They pardoned, before we even get to today, they pardoned, 33 murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. When you get the death sentence in the United States, you have to be bad because they don't give it much. And he pardoned almost everybody having a death sentence. And if you went through the crimes that were committed, you wouldn't even believe them, the level of violence, the people that were killed, the innocence of people that were killed and children killed by these people. And he pardoned them for whatever reason. He spared them, but they didn't spare them.
Yeah. My question is, why did he pardon so many people? Like, why did you pardon them and not make any announcement on it? And maybe he did. I could be speaking with false accusations. But my biggest question that I know I'm not wrong about is, why did he wait so deep in the game to finally pardon them? Like, I personally want to believe it's because he knew if he did this while his term was still going, it would put a bad taste in people's mouths about him and his leadership. So he waited until the last possible moment to clear everybody's name and air and say, I was with y'all from the beginning. With y'all, you already know. It's family affairs, dog.
That they killed, and who knows what happens in the future. It's one of the worst because a lot of times they let them out early after that. They say you're going to be in for life, but then all of a sudden they get let out for good behavior, and then they go on a rampage. It's one of those little things, right? But I was going to talk about that. But I was really going to talk about the level of, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crime. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying. I looked at him. I remember years ago, he was actually on my side. And then one day, when you don't want to kill people in wars, they turn against you. Liz Cheney hated the concept of not going to war with everybody. Let's kill everybody. Let's spend a lot of money on military equipment. Where her father works, right? And but what she did was incredible. Think of it. They destroyed and deleted all of that information that went on for almost 2 years against Trump. And the reason they did, because it was all false. Like the person that said, I tried to strangle a Secret Service agent. That's one of the toughest human beings I think I've ever seen. I actually had a friend say, please don't change that, sir. You are the coolest sucker in history. Remember, she said, my hands around his neck because he would go to the Capitol. Made up fiction. And I was rebuffed. And the guy on the right is a massive weightlifter. Probably stronger than me. Do you think he's stronger than me? How do you know who I'm talking? Possibly stronger than me. Slightly younger than me. Like, I won't say how many years because...
He's foolish. She's clowning right now. He said he's possibly stronger than me. Dog is a super, I almost said a super Secret Service agent. It's a Secret Service agent, dog. I'm sure he's stronger than him. How you going to be able to protect him? He ain't stronger than him.
I want to talk about that, but a lot of years. But I had a friend that said, why are you disputing that story? That's the coolest story I've ever heard. Then I would attack a karate champion, get slightly rebuffed, and then throw my arms around a guy with a neck about this big. Even though there are bars, you can't really do that anyway. So So I wanted to talk about that, but all of that stuff got deleted. And the reason it got deleted is they were all caught in lies. Secret Service testified and they said it didn't happen. Actually, the two guys were pretty embarrassed. They're suffering because their friends were saying, did Trump really do that to you? But they gained a whole new respect for me. But it was just make-believe stuff. There were a lot of make-believe stories made up. So rather than suffer the wrath, like the story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape that her daughter made. She's a videographer or whatever you call her, which I'm glad she is. So she can't be in good stead with Nancy. But Nancy said it was my responsibility as she's leaving the Capitol. She said she's in charge of security at the Capitol. But I offered them up to 10,000 soldiers, even more. One time I said more as many as you need, but you needed 400 or 500. If 400 or 500, 10,000, that'd be more than the number of people there by a lot. But we offered her 10,000. Think of it, 10,000 soldiers. In other words, J6 wouldn't be J6. There would have been no J6. But she rebuffed them. She didn't like it. No, she didn't like it. Maybe she wanted that to happen, but she's guilty as hell. And now
All right, he's rambling.
we have to go through the process because why did they give a pardon to all of his relatives? His brother, who made millions of dollars, to all these different people, he gave pardons. That's the question you should be answering. All right.
Right. That's what I'm asking, is why'd he wait until his last day in office to give out these pardons if they were all valid?
Breaking Down the Law is sponsored by Battleborn Injury Lawyers.
President Trump issued pardons and commutations for more than 1,600 Americans charged with crimes associated to the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Before the inauguration on Monday, outgoing President Joe Biden issued some pardons to members of the January 6th committee, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and members of President Biden's family, including his son, Hunter. Former President Biden and President Trump now facing some criticism for those pardons, with Republicans calling for investigations and Democrats accusing President Trump of condoning an insurrection. What are the details behind these pardons, and what consequences should we expect moving forward? We're here to discuss it all. We have attorney Matthew Hoffman. He's with Battleborn Injury Lawyers.
And actually, now that I really think about it, it is super interesting because the January 6th committee are the people who were holding the January 6th rioters up to the standard, or to whatever you want to call it, trying to get them in trouble, whatever, holding them guilty for their crimes committed, however you want to look at it. But it is crazy because it seems like they both just playing with each other. All right, bet. I'm already expecting you to get in here and pardon all the people involved. So I'm going to pardon everybody who was involved on my side, is what it seemed like. It seemed like a tit for tat type thing, which is corny.
And yeah, they have the right as the president to pardon folks.
Yeah, they do. And President Biden, and when he had given that preemptive pardon to Hunter a while back, that was the first time that had happened since Gerald Ford gave a preemptive pardon to Richard Nixon. And then basically the 11th hour right before inauguration, he issued a bunch more to the members of the January 6th committee, his brother Jim, another sibling, wives, Dr.
What did his brothers and their wives do? Like, why were they even under scrutiny to begin with, dog?
General Milley, and then there it is. And then Trump comes in and keeps a campaign promise and pardons for 1,600 people associated with January 6th. So when it comes to President Biden's preemptive pardons, really it came from a concern of like cash patel. He's being put forth as the director of the FBI, and he, prior to all that, had been saying the members of the January 6th committee destroyed evidence, they tampered with witnesses, they need to be investigated. I think the thought process here was, we don't want any of that. We don't want these investigations. We don't want people to have to face that kind of thing. Dr. Fauci, Rand Paul has been saying for several years now that he was responsible for gain-of-function research and the origins of COVID. Now that goes away, theoretically. And then, General Milley and accusations against him. So
basically he was trying to protect people he thought.
So Biden was protecting people who were going to be under heavy scrutiny for things that were happening under his rule and jurisdiction. He didn't want backlash coming for things that were going on during these time periods and these uncovering periods.
Targeted.
Exactly.
Okay.
Prevent basically, political prosecution.
Right.
On the flip side, you have President Trump, who had said he was going to do this, and then he did. Instead of being preemptive pardons, these are people that have been convicted of crimes or are facing convictions of crimes. Now, the vast majority of those pardons, over 1,000 of them, are people that had misdemeanor offenses, illegally being at the Capitol on grounds. Those charges, it's not like they were in jail. So they've been pardoned. But then several others, like the leader of the Proud Boys, he received a full pardon, and he was going to be serving 18 years in prison. That was seditious conspiracy. The key with him is that he wasn't actually at the Capitol on January 6th, but the allegation was that he was communicating with other members of the Proud Boys who also were convicted of seditious conspiracy. They were not pardoned. They received commutations. Commutations just means time served. And it was the same with the founder of the Oath Keepers. He got a commutation. He's from Las Vegas. I think it was about 8 people from Vegas. So that when you get a pardon, the crime is still on your record. It still shows that you did this. Even if it's a felony, it's still there. But with a pardon, you get your rights back. You can vote. You can purchase a weapon, things like that. A commutation, you can't. It's time served, but you still got that felony. You have all the repercussions of the felony.
Yeah, and there's some folks who, to speak to the January 6th, that are afraid. I guess I read where some officers have actually gotten out protective orders since these folks are being released.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look on both past presidents and current president with these pardons. It never is a good look. You've got officers. You're sitting here saying we support police, but then you have people that were assaulting the police and these Capitol officers, and now the people that were assaulting them are getting free. It's all controversial. What's going to be interesting is on the January 6th committee members, Liz Cheney in particular, she's alleged to, it was referred to the Department of Justice, they didn't do anything, but she's alleged to have tampered with the witness Cassidy Hutchinson, who ended up being a key witness. She had said things like President Trump tried to grab a steering wheel and things like that.
Right.
Cassidy Hutchinson wasn't pardoned. So if she was investigated by the House, they could call Liz Cheney as a witness and say, did you do this? And she can't plead the fifth, she's been pardoned. So she would have to testify under oath, or she could face, obstruction of Congress, etc.
That is definitely very interesting. He's saying that the people who've been pardoned can still be called to testify on behalf of other things and other cases. And with the fact that they have a pardon, they're not allowed to plead the fifth because you're not allowed to be tried for it. They're not going to be held in any scrutiny. So you have to tell the story. That's actually a power play move right there on both sides. Interesting.
There is for any of this political warfare. I think that's really what President Biden was trying to prevent from going forward. But, we'll see moving forward if any of that happens. But we do know that January 6th, the vast majority of them, they're out. They're free.
Well, one thing that we can say is there's no such thing as typical. Seems like everything is atypical. I mean, the fact that Liz Cheney is, enemy number one for Republicans when she's a Cheney.
And voted 99% with
Donald Trump. I think that kind of tells us where we are today. So
it's the upside down world.
Yeah. What day is it?
Except.
Right. We are in unprecedented times across the board. I don't know what people are talking about by going off of the standard or the past. Like, we are in a time period that did not exist before, with all the media, with all the opinions, with all the crazy things happening, with all the weapons of mass destruction that are available. We are in unprecedented times. So y'all stay safe, stay prayed up, and God bless. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on during, these trying times, and hear some interesting topics along the way. I'm your boy.